If you leave and you miss, then come back and kiss it. We'll travel a distance, we're so proud of it. We fight for what's right, we're always too mountains above us. And all you can see is one and just a cause. We're free.
Hello, Brampton. Wow, look at this. Who's ready to vote for a change? Who's voting to axe some taxes for a change? Who's voting to build homes you can afford for a change? Who's voting to stop the crime for a change? And who's voting to put Canada first for a change? We sure need to put this country first, now more than ever, my friends. Before I get into the subject today, which of course is to announce the biggest crackdown on crime in Canadian history, I have to address today's latest disrespect by President Trump of our country. While President Trump announced a 90-day pause on tariffs for dozens of countries, he kept those tariffs in place on Canada. Take that in for a moment. Almost every country in the world got a pause on American tariffs, but not us, America's best friend. Our steel workers, aluminum workers, auto workers, lumber workers hit again. This after Prime Minister Carney boasted that he had a, quote, productive phone call with the president. He said that he had made progress with the president. What progress? What progress do the auto workers in Brampton and Windsor and elsewhere in Canada today see? Now, to be clear, I'm not blaming Prime Minister Carney for President Trump's tariffs. These tariffs are uncalled for and unjustified. And no one can control this president. But that's precisely the point. Prime Minister Carney is running his entire campaign on a false promise that he can control the president through magical, masterful negotiating techniques. Well, we know now that that is not true. Nobody can control this president. And while I will move quickly to negotiate an end to tariffs with protections for Canadian sovereignty as quickly as possible, we need to focus on what we can control. And this is what we can control, my friends. We need to reverse the disastrous liberal economic policies of the last 10 years that made us so dependent on the Americans in the first place. So the choice in this election is not, as Mr. Carney would ask you, to overlook an entire decade of rising costs and crime and falling economy that is under the thumb of the Americans simply because he promises that somehow he's a master negotiator. No, he can't control any of that. What we are deciding in this election is, can we afford a fourth Liberal term of rising costs and crime and a weakened economy? Or is it time for a change with a new Conservative government to unlock our resources, cut our taxes, build our homes, and strengthen our country so that we can face the Americans from a position of strength? That's the choice in this election. Aujourd'hui, le président Trump nous a respectés encore. Il a annoncé une pause de 90 jours sur les tarifs douaniers visant des douzaines d'autres pays, mais il a gardé en place les tarifs sur le Canada. Nos travailleurs de l'acier, de l'aluminium, de bois d'œuvre, de l'automobile, pensez-y, lorsque Donald Trump a donné une pause aux douzaines d'autres pays, le Canada continue de payer. M. Carney a dit que son appel avec le président Trump a été productif. Il y a eu des progrès. Mais quel progrès? On a toujours plus de tarifs que quand M. Carney est devenu le premier ministre du Canada. Mais je ne blâme pas M. Carney pour ça. C'est M. Trump qui est à blâmer. Personne ne peut le contrôler. Mais la promesse principale de M. Carney de pouvoir contrôler M. Trump avec des grands pouvoirs de négociation, c'est une fausse promesse. On doit se concentrer sur ce qu'on peut contrôler, c'est-à-dire de renforcer notre économie. Et ça va prendre un renversement total des politiques libérales qui ont augmenté les coûts et ont fait baisser notre économie avec il faut un nouveau gouvernement pour un vrai changement afin de renforcer notre économie ici au Canada. Donc, le choix dans cette élection, est-ce qu'on veut un quatrième mandat des libéraux qui augmentent les coûts et la criminalité tout en affaiblissant notre économie, en même temps qu'ils ont échoué, ou bien est-ce qu'il faut que ça change avec un nouveau gouvernement conservateur qui va couper les taxes et les impôts, bâtir des logements abordables et renforcer notre économie pour faire face à Donald Trump avec la force? It's the same liberal gang asking for your support for a fourth mandate, the same liberal gang that raised your taxes, drove up inflation, doubled housing costs, unleashed crime and chaos in our community. 40-year highs in inflation, the worst housing inflation in the entire G7. 50% more expensive to buy a house today in Canada than in the United States. In fact, you can buy a castle in Sweden for a lower cost than a house in Kitchener after the lost Liberal decade. The carpenters who build the homes cannot afford to live in them. My friends, those homes are now in increasingly dangerous neighborhoods as crime and chaos overtakes our communities as a result of radical catch-and-release liberal policies. So the choice in this election is whether, after a lost liberal decade of rising crime and costs and a falling economy under America's thumb, we can afford to give the Liberals a fourth term, or whether it's time for a change with a new Conservative government that will put Canada first for a change. And we know where Canada's police stand. We were very pleased to receive the endorsement of Adrian Woolley, the president of the Peel Regional Police. Thank you very much, Adrian. Come on up here. Thank you very much. Thanks for backing me up. Do you have a message to Canadians from the great men and women who put on the uniform in your membership?
We couldn't be happier to support you, Pierre. We need a change. Our streets are overrun with criminals. They don't. The Liberals do not look after our police officers. They put criminals first and Canadians second, and we can't take it anymore.
It's time for a change.
It is absolutely time for a change.
And thank you for fighting for the great police officers who put their lives on the line every day, who kiss their kids goodbye in the morning, not knowing if they will return. Those are the heroes that keep us safe. And I want to thank the Durham Police Association, the Barrie Police Association, the Sault Ste. Marie Police Association for endorsing Canada First Conservatives, my friends. Thank you to the police. I love you too, my friend. God bless you. Thank you. I love all of you guys. Thank you. And if you, thank you very much. That's a very important cause, autism and many more. And if you had doubt at all the courage of our police officers, Let's look back to 2022. 2 days after Christmas near Brantford, OPP Constable Greg Pershella was shot and killed. The accused, Randall McKenzie, had a long history of convictions for violent crime, but guess what? He was out on bail. He had already attacked his ex-girlfriend and been caught with an illegal firearm. He'd been denied bail at first, but then the judge changed his mind and turned him loose. These are just one of the many examples that if we look over to 2018 in Mississauga, a 14-year-old boy, Riley, was killed by two brothers, one of whom was out on bail for robbery, death threats, and violating other bail conditions. So he violates the bail conditions, and they let him out on bail again. 5 years later, they pled guilty to the lesser offense of manslaughter, which the family rightly called a denial of justice. And then if you turn the page to the next story, you have Darian's grandparents, Flo and Paul, who are here today. In Brampton, Darian was a beautiful and beloved young woman from a loving family whose life was taken tragically 5 years ago. The accused was an ex of hers who was out on bail for weapons charges, violence, and breaking contact orders with her. Unbelievably, as we gather here today, he can apply for bail again. No family should have to face that. And then there's Tori Stafford. In 2009, Michael Rafferty and Terry Lynn McClintock murdered Tori just a few months shy of her 9th birthday. Despite being sentenced to life in prison with no chance of parole for 25 years, the Carney-Trudeau Liberals let Rafferty move to a medium security prison, and McClintock was moved to a healing lodge in 2018. A move that was only reversed because of strong pressure from Conservative members of Parliament in the House of Commons. Now, this radical wave of crime is not happening by accident. These radical decisions are not being simply handed out by judges. They are being imposed by catch and release laws of the Liberal government. They have passed catch and release bail C-75. They passed C-5, allowing house arrest for the worst offenders. They reduced criminal penalties and sentences for the following crimes. Get this. Get this. I want to go through the list. Using a firearm in the commission of an offense, possession of a firearm, possession of prohibited and restricted weapons, possession of a weapon obtained by the commission of an offense, stealing a gun, really, weapons trafficking, possession for the purposes of trafficking, importing and exporting weapons, discharging a weapon with the intent to harm somebody, discharging a firearm recklessly, robbery with a firearm, extortion with a firearm, unlawful sale and distribution of tobacco products, Controlled and Drug Substances Act, trafficking, possession of illegal substances, trafficking, exporting for the purposes of exporting. We've got production of controlled substances like fentanyl, that literally you can kill someone with 2 milligrams of this stuff. And the Liberals, all of those offenses, they have reduced the penalties to release these offenders into our streets again and again and again. Now, let me be clear. Every single Liberal MP and minister running for re-election under the Carney Liberals voted in favor of every single one of these soft on crime laws. Do not let them fool you. They all voted for catch and release bail. Now, that means that the same 40 offenders in Vancouver were released and were able to be rearrested 6,000 times. 40 offenders arrested 6,000 times. Each and every one of them would have committed crime on average once every 2 days, every 2 days for an entire year. Now, we have Ron Chinzer here. Come on up here, Ron. Police officer. Ron is running for us in Oakville, but he's Oakville East, but he is a longtime police officer, including for Peel. and tell me what you've seen from catch and release under Liberal Bill C-75.
If I were to explain to you and have you live the life of an average police officer just over the last 6 years, ever since Bill C-75 came in 2019, it would keep you up for decades. And it's terrible. We have families who have lost their loved ones, their kids in their own household from fentanyl overdoses, and police officers and first responders have to tell the family. We have repeat violent offenders committing murders, carjackings, home invasions, and when we catch them, we have to tell these innocent Canadian victims, good people with their family, their loved ones in their house, that the person who did this was on bail. And we're trying everything we can do to keep this person in custody, but this Liberal government has always led them out. That heartbreak was the reason why I got involved with Pierre Poilievre. I had been lobbying to government as an independent police officer to say, please bring back common sense. And out of all of the politicians I had met, years ago I'd met with Pierre Poilievre. He was the only politician to ever ask me, how do we fix it?
And Ron, I'm happy to say that we will fix it. A Canada First Conservative government will repeal catch and release bail and end C-75. We will repeal the house arrest law. House arrest allows the same repeat car thieves. Like, have anybody had their car stolen here? Yeah. Okay, sorry, let me rephrase my question. Has anyone not had their car stolen? You might want to just step out sometime during the rally tonight. Make sure your car is still there. But joking aside, career car thieves get to do their sentences at home. It's house arrest. They can sit there watching Netflix or playing Grand Theft Auto. We're going to repeal house arrest for serious offenders and career criminals. We will also create a new offense for intimate partner violence to take domestic abusers and dangerous people and put them in jail. We will bring in mandatory life sentences for human traffickers, gun smugglers, and we know that when you're mass marketing fentanyl, 40 milligrams of which is enough to kill 20 people, you are effectively committing mass murder. You're firing a bullet into a crowded room. You might not know who will die, but somebody will definitely die. So we will treat fentanyl mass marketers and producers for the murderers that they are. They will have life sentences in jail. They will come out in a box. Absolutely. And speaking of it at home, many of our business leaders in this very community are afraid in their own houses because after they achieve success through their hard work, they started getting letters saying, pay up, pay out $1 million, or we'll fire a bullet through your child's window in the middle of the night. We'll burn down your house or your business. We'll shoot one of your employees. Extortion has exploded under this Liberal government, which eliminated mandatory jail time for extortionists and allowed the worst extortionists, including those caught using guns, to serve their sentences at home. And that's why I'm so proud to have my deputy leader, Tim Uppal, here, who's working to change that. Tell Canadians about your bill to stop the extortion for a change.
Thank you very much. As you said, that when these soft on crime Liberals took office, they changed the laws and extortion took off up to over 400% in some areas. And these are very serious crimes, like you said, shooting at homes when families are at home. Full houses burnt down as arson. And they were being released on bail. They were not even being caught. Police were doing the hard job of arresting them, and they were still getting out on bail. So what we brought in is a private member's bill that I brought forward with the support of our colleagues that would at the very least, because there's no minimum penalty right now, have 3 years for anyone committing extortion, 4 years with a firearm, and 5 years if you did this with an organized crime organization, local, international. But the unbelievable thing is that every single Liberal and NDP member of Parliament, including the ones that here in Brampton where many of these crimes took place, voted against that bill. They voted against giving extortionists more jail time. ਸਾਰੇ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਵੀ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਹੁਣ ਉਹ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਰਿਹਾ ਵੀ ਕ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਵੱਧ ਗਿਆ ਹੁਣ ਤਾਂ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਵਾਲੇ ਵੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਵੀ ਜੇ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸੇਫਟੀ ਲਿਆਉਣੀ ਆ ਪੀਅਰ ਪੋਲੀਅਮ ਨੂੰ ਪ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰ ਬਣਾਓ ਤੇ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸੇਫਟੀ ਲਿਆਓ
Love you too, buddy. Who's this guy? What's your name? Anthony. Say hi to everyone, Anthony.
Hi, everyone.
Anthony, why did you come here today?
To support you.
Thank you very much. Good young man. How old are you?
I'm 12.
Wow. And what do you want to see for our country?
I want to see crimes being stopped. I want to see Canada turn good again.
Let's bring it home. Way to go, bud. Thank you. Way to go. What a great kid. Maybe a future prime minister over there. Wow. Well, you'll be happy to know that we will implement all of Tim Uppal's anti-extortion bill and more. We will also pass the biggest crackdown on crime in Canadian history. Let me tell you what we've got planned. This is going to be the toughest law ever passed to stop crime. Today I announced the 3 strikes you're out law. Anyone convicted of 3 serious offenses will go to jail for at least 10 years and maybe for life and will never be eligible for bail, probation, parole, or house arrest. Jail, not bail. Jail, not bail. In fact, we won't have to worry about them getting early parole because there will be no parole for those offenders. It will not exist. Here's how it will work. Once they're designated a dangerous offender, they will serve a minimum of 10 years with no possibility of early release. Any potential release thereafter will be conditional on their perfect behavior in prison, consistent and perfect drug-free tests showing that they're not using drugs, improving themselves and improving their surroundings, learning a trade or some sort of vocation that will help them be employed. The message is this: after you've done 3 offenses, you're going away for life unless you can prove to society that you are no longer a danger. That is how we are going to stop the crime and protect our communities forever. So on the matter of crime, the choice is clear. After the lost Liberal decade of rampaging crime, of drug overdoses, of weak borders and chaos everywhere, do the Liberals deserve a 4th term, or is it time? Or is it time to put law-abiding Canadians first for a change with a new Conservative government that will stop the crime? That's the choice. And we will stop the drugs. We've lost 50,000 people to drug overdoses. The fentanyl is all over our streets. The government has effectively legalized it by signaling to prosecutors not to pursue charges for possession. They reduced prison time for the traffickers who are profiting off of this hell. Well, I'm here to say that those days are over. We will ban the drugs. We will stop giving out tax-funded opioids. We will shut down the drug consumption sites. And we will use all the money saved. We will use all the money saved to invest in treatment and recovery for 50,000 Canadians to turn their lives around. Detox, rehabilitation, group therapy, counseling, sweat lodges for First Nations, and countless other services will help people cleanse their bodies and their souls, get into a house, take responsibility for their families again, and become the next ambassador to go out and lift someone else off the street, creating a virtuous cycle of saving our friends, our neighbors, our brothers and sisters from this scourge. And we will secure our borders. Right now, the government allows 99% of shipping containers to come in and go out without inspection. Where do you think all the stolen cars go? A shipping container. So imagine this very simple idea. You've got a CBSA officer. We're going to hire 2,000 more of those too. And he sits there. You can tell me if this is a good idea, okay? I know you're not CBSA, but would this work? So you've got the manifest, and it says that in the shipping container is widgets. And then you look at the scanner, and it shows that it's a beamer. Well, then you go and you pull the beamer out of the container, you call the guy on the VIN and say, were you planning to send your beamer to Turkey today? And he says, no, I was going to drive it to work, but it went missing in this morning. Oh, well, we've got it over at the Port of Montreal. You can come get it. And then you find out who booked the shipping container. You go to that guy and say, you're under arrest. You have a right to remain silent. What do you think? Would that work? I don't know. I'm just a simple boy from the prairies, but it seems like it would make sense to me, right? Yeah, that's right. Common sense. And we're going to have watchtowers that scan the frontier border to stop illegal crossings from happening. We will also have more frontline officers and less back office bureaucrats and consultants. And we're going to pay for all this by canceling the ridiculous multi-billion-dollar gun grab that targets hunters and sport shooters. Now, we know that licensed, law-abiding, trained, and tested firearms owners are not the problem. That's because criminals don't typically go and get a license before they rob a bank. They take stolen guns from America. We want to protect Canadians from criminals, not turkeys from hunters. It's time to respect the law-abiding people of our land. But to do all this, it takes a prime minister who will put Canada first, who will bring home our money and jobs. And we know that it's the same Liberals, the same ministers, same strategists, making the same promises as they have over the last 10 years, but they've pulled a fast one. They've replaced Justin Trudeau with his economic advisor and handpicked successor, Mark Carney. The only difference is that he is weaker and more compromised than Justin Trudeau. We've now known that he stashed his corporate cash in Bermuda so that he doesn't have to pay the same high Liberal taxes that his government charges all of you. His company, which he's still invested in, owes $250 million to the Chinese government-controlled banks, meaning they'll be able to pull his strings and have him work against Canada for that foreign country. He calls himself a globalist and an elitist at a time when what we need is someone to champion the Canadian grassroots people. Thank you very much, my friend. I appreciate that. Mark Carney, this bait and switch of Mark Carney from Justin Trudeau is not enough to make up for the lost Liberal decade. We can't give them a fourth term. We need a new government that will put this country first for a change. Now, and that means making this a country where hard work once again pays off. Today, we got a lot of hardworking people in Brampton and Mississauga and other places. In fact, when I go to the communities around here and I walk around, all I ever see is people working nonstop. Like I've never seen you don't walk into a coffee shop and people are just relaxing anymore. You know, there used to be something you take for granted. People had leisure and fun, but you go to Brampton, Mississauga, Etobicoke now, all people do is work, work, work. And not because they're saving up, but because they need to just to keep their head above water. One of the reasons is they're spending more on taxes than on food, clothing, and shelter combined. Income tax is the fine you pay for the crime of hard work. The more you work, the more you pay. That's the Canada after the lost Liberal decade. And that is exactly what we want to reverse. If we want a strong Canadian economy, we need stronger paychecks. And that's why Conservatives will cut income tax by 15%. Thank you. 15% less income tax will mean you'll bring home more of each dollar you earn. Your hard work will once again pay off. Not only that, we want to bring back our jobs, including for the Brampton auto workers, and that is why we will axe the sales tax on Canadian-made automobiles. Buy Canadian. And then there's the carbon tax. The Liberals brought it in for 7 years. They kept the carbon tax law in place, but 28 days before the election, they hid it from the gas pump in the hope that they can fool people into electing them for a fourth Liberal term, after which they will simply raise the tax higher than ever before. Mark Carney says he wants a higher industrial carbon tax on our steel workers, aluminum workers, automakers, makers of fertilizer, and countless other essentials of industrial life that will drive our workers out of jobs and our businesses south of the border. This is another thing that Trump and Carney share in common. They both want to tax Canadian industry. Trump with tariffs, Carney with carbon taxes. I want neither. I will axe the carbon tax for everyone, for everything, for good, for real, for a change. And we will axe the worst tax of all, the inflation tax. The inflation tax is when the government runs out of other people's money and starts printing more. That extra money looks like lots of fun. Hundreds of billions of dollars pouring into the financial system, trickling slowly down through the hands of the richest and most well-connected. But by the time it gets to everyone else, it's lost its value, because more dollars are bidding up a fixed supply of goods. If you have 10 apples in your economy and $10, it's $1 an apple. Double the dollars to 20, but still only have 10 apples. You're not twice as rich. It's just each apple now costs twice as much, right? That is inflation. And it's the sneakiest tax of all, because there's no vote in Parliament. You don't see it happening. You just assume that the grocer raised apple prices because he's a greedy guy. No, it's just that there's more money bidding on that restricted supply of goods. So this is what we're going to do to stop the inflation tax. We're going to stop the source of the tax, which is over government spending. We have to get government spending under control. Liberals have nearly doubled the cost of government. Most of those increases happened while Mark Carney was Justin Trudeau's economic advisor. Don't let the banker's suit fool you. He is even proposing to spend more money than Justin Trudeau did. We will do the opposite. Our plan will cut bureaucracy, consultants, handouts to corporate insiders, and foreign aid to dictators, terrorists, and global bureaucracies to bring down the deficit, the inflation, and preserve the purchasing power of your money. We will cap spending with a dollar-for-dollar law that requires we find $1 of savings every time we bring in a new dollar of spending. You make those trade-offs every day. The same kinds of trade-offs that small businesses, single moms, and seniors do all the time to maximize the use of scarce resources. We're going to spend your money the way you spend your money, with care and respect, because you've been pinching your pennies long enough. It's time for government to pinch its pennies too. And that includes bringing down housing inflation. Housing costs have more than doubled after the lost Liberal decade. In fact, it now takes 29 years for the average GTA family to save up for the average home. This used to be you paid off an entire mortgage in 25 years before the Liberals came along. And now Mr. Carney is proposing the exact same policies that Trudeau used to give us the worst housing inflation in the G7. More government bureaucracies, more government programs in Ottawa. We don't need bureaucrats to build homes. We have carpenters, electricians, and plumbers for that. What we need is the government to get out of the way. That's right. Right now, the number one cost going into a new home in Ontario is not labor, land, or lumber. It's getting the permits and paying the taxes. 30% of the cost of a new home is just direct taxes. That's the sales tax, the land transfer tax, the development taxes, and then taxes on taxes on taxes. We will lead the charge in getting rid of these taxes. That's why I'm announcing that a conservative-led government will axe the sales tax on new homes, and we will incentivize municipalities to cut their taxes as well. We'll sell off 6,000 federal buildings and thousands of acres of federal land to build. And we're going to back the tradespeople who build the homes by training 350,000 young people will be given a chance for training in the best union halls in the country, learning to become pipe fitters, electricians, carpenters, and more. Because we need these people. We're going to bring back the $4,000 apprenticeship grant that the Liberals took away. And finally, I'm going to send a big, beautiful present to every high school principal. It's going to be a box the size of this stage. And in that box will be a module for every single licensed trade so that we can get our high school students doing pre-apprenticeships and apprenticeships when they're 14 years old. Boots, not suits. Boots, not suits. Boots, not suits. Boots, not suits. We're going to need those boots to build our economy back after a lost Liberal decade of blocking our resources and keeping our energy in the ground. We need to reverse the dependence they have caused on us towards the Americans. We need, yes, you got that right, we're going to be repealing the anti-pipeline law, C-69. We're going to build... We're going to get rid of the Liberal production cap in our energy sector. We're going to unleash our resource potential with new shovel-ready zones. These are areas that are pre-permitted, that have permits so that businesses don't have to apply and wait 7 years. We'll do all the studies and the upfront research to protect public health and the environment so that the businesses know where they can build, how they can build, and then just get busy building now here in Canada. We're going to cut 25% of the rules and regulations that fall on the back of our small businesses so that our restaurant owners, our home builders, and others spend less time filling out paperwork and more time serving customers and hiring workers. It's just common sense. That's how we're going to reinforce our economy. So the question we have is, after a lost Liberal decade of rising costs and crime and a falling economy. We can't have a fourth term. We need a new conservative government that will unleash our economy, cut taxes for our workers, and bring home opportunity for all. And this is my favorite part of the night. When I talk about the great investors in this room, we are going to pass the Canada First reinvestment tax cut, zero capital gains tax when you reinvest in Canada. Bring it home. And we're going to protect our country by rebuilding our military, we're going to buy 4 big, powerful Arctic icebreakers, double the size of the first patrol group of the Arctic Rangers. We will also fill up all of the vacancies in our armed forces so that our soldiers, sailors, and airmen are ready to stand on guard. And we will open the first Canadian Arctic base since the Cold War, CFB Iqaluit. It's going to be a great, great place to serve. We'll expand the Cadet Corps to train our youth and mentor them under the watchful eye of our soldiers, sailors, and airmen. And we will fix the broken immigration system that the Liberals have left behind. Canada has benefited greatly from what was the best immigration system in the world before Justin Trudeau and the Liberals came along and ruined it. And they continue to be obsessed with this ridiculous Century Initiative, which seeks to nearly triple our population to 100 million people. My friends, this is an idea just meant to favor the multinational corporations who want to drive down our wages. We will not allow it. We will get back to the best immigration system where we welcome people who can get jobs, get homes, and have health care, and we will give opportunity back. We will bring in a Blue Seal certification so immigrant doctors, nurses, and other professionals can get quickly licensed and working in our hospital system. Who here is ready for a change? Who is going to vote for that change? You can vote as early as tomorrow morning. Go out to the returning office. Who's going to go out tomorrow and vote? Not good enough. I want to hear louder than that. Who's voting tomorrow? I need you to vote. If you don't vote, then things won't change. We'll get a 4th Liberal term. We don't want that. We want to be a self-reliant and sovereign people that stands on its own 2 feet, harvests its resources, trades with each other, builds homes for its youth, protects its vulnerable, secures its borders, honors its history, builds its security, and raises its flag. We are not a nation of tax collectors and toll masters, of gatekeepers and grandees, of rulers and rule makers. No, we are a nation of entrepreneurs and explorers, of artists and adventurers, of warriors and workers, of patriots and pioneers united around the Canadian promise that anyone from anywhere can achieve anything, that hard work gets you a beautiful life and a wonderful home on a safe street under our proud flag. Canada First, let's bring it home.
There's something